Hello, friends, and welcome back to PepPep's World. Today, I have for you a movie review. Now, this movie is called Acts of Violence, and it stars Bruce Willis and Cole Hauser and Sean Ashmore. Yes, so, but listen, before we go into the review, please, why don't you take a moment and hit subscribe down below, and also like this video, because I'm sure you're going to like it. Acts of Violence, starring Bruce Willis. Well, as a matter of fact, before I go into the review, let me share with you a story that I have of my own with Bruce Willis. Although it's not the same Bruce Willis as the man starring in Acts of Violence. No, this Bruce Willis was a gentleman who kept his mother's surname. And her name was Marie, what you talking about? So he was actually named Bruce, what you talking about, Willis? And you see, I met Bruce on a flight one Christmas Eve. We were both headed to Los Angeles. He was headed to meet up with his estranged ex-wife. And he wanted to surprise her at her office's Christmas party, you see. So we make our way off of the airplane, and you see, he really took a liking to me, and he had asked me on the plane, PepPep, please accompany me to my ex-wife's Christmas party. I would like to enjoy your company further. And I said, of course you do. So I will. Anyways, the party was at the Yakasaki building, and we had caught a ride from a limousine that was driven by a rather charming young man. Once we got to the Yagasaki building, Bruce being the wily one, he wanted to surprise his old lady, and so we hid up in the bathroom, and so Bruce could massage his toes on the carpet, you see. It was his trick for overcoming flight anxiety. And while we were in the bathroom, we heard a ruckus outside. And he picked his head out from the door, and he said, PepPep, the place is being overrun by terrorists. What should we do? And I said, Bruce, we need to get out there and save those people. And he said, but PepPep, I am so afraid. I'm not nearly the man you are. And I said, true, but let's hide in here for a minute and let them think that they missed us. So we spent the afternoon in a rather of a cat and mouse game with the terrorists. We would take out some of theirs. They would take some shots at us. And, we had the ultimate goal of getting a hold of their leader, Mr. Lucker. Yes. And as I said, we spent the entire day fighting with the terrorists, but we could not get our hands on Mr. Lucker. Until much later that evening, we met up with Mr. Lucker on the very top floor of the Yakasaki building. And you see, that floor was under construction, so there was no windows anywhere. They were all open, and the wind was blowing through my hair. And it was actually rather refreshing up there, if we weren't there for deadly business. But anyways, Bruce and Mr. Lucker had a standoff. And little did Mr. Lucker know that Bruce, what you talking about, Willis, had a gun, taped to his back. And, well, they sparred with words for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, gunfire erupted. And before you knew it, Mr. Lucker, he was hanging outside of the window, with just his hands. And Bruce, what you talking about, Willis, being the true humanitarian that he is, he ran over there, and he grabbed Mr. Lucker's hand to keep him from falling the several floors to his death. And, well, from my vantage point, I could see Mr. Lucker looking at Bruce, and Bruce was looking at Mr. Lucker, and Mr. Lucker was looking at Bruce. And then he got a weird look on his face, and I could read that he was going to be doing something dastardly. And he took his gun hand, and he started to slowly raise it to take a shot at Bruce, you see. And I said, "No, you will not do that, Mr. Lucker." So I took off running. I was going to help Bruce. But as I was running towards Bruce, my 22 HPB decided that moment to steal my eyesight from me. And yes, I went totally blind. And I was running so fast I really couldn't stop. And all of a sudden, I tripped over a worker's toolbox. And, well, that really threw me off my balance. And I went careening towards Bruce. And suddenly, the top of my head hit something rather soft. And all of a sudden, I heard screaming from down below. Screaming! And as I heard him screaming as he fell, well, I just had to sit there and say, "Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Lucker." And I said, "Boy, Bruce, did you hear that man yell? Oh, my goodness. He yelled so loud, and the echo, it almost sounded like there were two people falling and screaming to their deaths. Oh, my." I said, "Good job, Bruce. What you talking about, Willis? We did good, eh?" And, Bruce, being the man that he was, he must have been so overwhelmed to go save his wife that he must not have stuck around for very long, because he did not respond to me. And I will say that did get on my nerves a little bit, because I was blind at the moment. But he was eager to see his wife, so I forgive him for running off without helping me. And so I made my way down to the ground level of the Yakasaki building, and I was outside, and the cops were there, and people, and all of the hostages were there, and people were crying, and people were cheering, and I wound my way over to Mrs. Willis, and she was crying. She was crying like a baby. So happy she must have been to see her husband, Bruce. And I said, "My dear lady, where's Bruce? Where did he go?" And she erupted into tears again. And I said, "Oh, boy, she must really be overwhelmed. Poor Bruce, he came to see that she was okay, and he must have went off to make sure that the other survivors were okay as well." But, what really kind of upset me, if I must say, was the fact that, to this day, Bruce, what you talking about, Willis, has yet to return any of my phone calls or letter correspondences. I don't know why. I didn't know if I said something that was upsetting to him. I didn't know if I made him mad somehow. Well, I don't know what happened. I mean, he didn't even show up to my congratulatory parade. He must have been so miffed that he refused to have his name even mentioned. Poor Bruce, I don't know what happened to him. If any of my followers out there know Bruce, what you talking about, Willis, or you have his updated contact information, please leave me a comment in the comments down below. I would greatly appreciate it. I missed my old friend. But so that takes me to acts of violence with the actor Bruce Willis. This movie, was the worst movie I have ever seen. And I've seen a lot of stinkers. Bruce Willis, he almost acted like he didn't even want to be in this movie. And Shawn Ashmore, I don't know what happened to the boy. He was great in The Following, but, here he was disassociated from the film. Cole Hauser, he was probably the star highlight of this movie, and he was just mean and grumbly the entire time. So, by all means, don't watch acts of violence unless you want to see Bruce Willis making a lot of kissy faces. Where he sucks his lips in and he looks like he's concentrating and he's trying to fart out a headache. That's what he looks like when he makes that face. But he does it a lot in this movie. If he wasn't so old, you would swear it was his first movie. That's how bad it is. So, that's all I have for you today. Acts of Violence gets a 0 star out of 5 stars. It was that bad. Oh my! I'll never watch it again. And from to the future, I will always look at Bruce Willis with hesitation before watching his movies. So, that's all I have for you today. Please stop back again, and I'll have another movie review or some other thing here or there. Because that's what we do here at PepPep's World. Yes. So have a good rest of the week and weekend. And stop back next week on Wednesday for PepPep's World. Goodbye.